We have with us today an pull-up show, a part two show about love, sex, and relationships. We have now so far have joined us is Coach Kofi. So I'm gonna go back to his bio because we gotta get this all on record, you don't know. So those of you that you've heard earlier, we have with us today Coach Kofi. Kofi is known as Brother Kofi. He's a public speaker, he's an author and freedom alignment coach. Kofi is the founder of Cosmic Wellness, a holistic health business which focuses on promoting ancient wisdom for modern day happiness. Kofi offers wellness solutions using traditional healing methods to those who seek to live grounded in personal success, mindsets centered on their core values and personal mission. As the co-chair of Harriet Tubman Community Organization, Brother Kofi also enjoys volunteering his time with youth development, sharing his skills and experience with the community youth groups in the GT, and there's just so much more. I mean, he's even touches international audiences. We also have with us, joining us today in this conversation, as well, is Donna Savage. And I'm just gonna again, in the reggae world, as I said, we have to go pull up on it. So let us bring on Donna Savage, and I'm gonna read it again, her bio. Donna Savage is the founder of Savage Desires as a mother of certified sensuality and confidence, an NLP coach, talk show host, international speaker, and author. Her article has been featured in BuyBlacks.com, regular speaking assignments to several abused women's shelters and sexual health organizations. Donna is a Toronto resident and has been in the business for 15 years. She has helped create spaces for individuals who want to become the better version of themselves, to get into strategic planning and execution. She is also the author of Heads Up, Chest Out, Own Your Shit. So let's welcome them on. I did see them pop up. So Shayna, if you know me, I'm gonna know if I do it on this their side. So if you could just welcome them in. Let's see, Brother Kofi. So Shayna, are you able to add Brother Kofi? And I see Donna Savage. So let's just welcome them. And what we learned, I'm just going to go in just a little bit as we get them on the live, right? So what we learned from last week's show is the significance of healing. Okay, so you sent the invite. They're there. Donna, did you guys see the invite? We could just try again in the meantime. But they are on the live, so if we could just get them added in. Okay, so I'm just going to dip into what we learned last week. So last week we got to learn the significance of healing, the significance to own your past and really face it and be able to start from healing before you can even really align with your desired partner or your deserving partner. So let's just see. Okay, we've got one person. Beautiful. We got Brother Kofi. Welcome.
Greetings, greetings, greetings.
Greetings. Okay, so Brother Kofi's here. And we're going to get Donna Savage up on the scene. Yeah, man. I'm so excited to have you guys back and carry on this conversation. I learned a lot last week. I was able to dip into some self-reflection. I don't know. Today we're going to look at tools of how to heal.
All right.
As in, just you face the pain, right? Or face the whatever it might be. It could be trauma. It could be, just a weird experience, an awkward experience that has, influenced your mindset and your approach of how it could be an archetype that's, from an ancestor passed down. You know what I'm saying? And you're very deep like that with your cosmic world, you know? So
100%.
yeah. So do you want to say anything in lieu of last week's show and just coming into the show here, Brother Kofi? Welcome again as we wait for Donna Savage.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone. Good to be here back with you, sharing some space and some time. It's been a really interesting week. It's been a powerful week. There's been a lot that has come just in terms of reflections since last week, and a lot of conversations as well have come since last week's session. So if you just tuned in, you missed a very live, in-depth conversation, and there's no way I could encompass it in a couple minutes.
No, we can't. We
all
can't.
of what we all of what we covered, but definitely we touch upon many different areas. So tonight, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what is to come relative to some of our listeners, maybe questions and things that may come. If you
Yeah.
were on last week's call, feel free to say me down in the chat if there's something that you walked away with from last week's call, and if there's something specific that you're wanting to explore today. Greetings, Donna. How are you?
Yes, yes, you look lovely. Oh gosh, you're glowing, Donna. You always glow. There's a glow. There's like a double glow. It's always glowing, but it's like, whew, nice to see you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So where are we at?
Okay, so Brother Kofi, if you could continue on what you were just saying. He was just doing a quick reflection on last week, and that we did discuss a lot of topics. Today we're going to get more into the healing. What does that look like? What does that even look like? And identifying what it is too. But continue on, Brother Kofi, you were saying?
Yeah, and I'll just give an opportunity for those that may want to put in the chat if there's something specific that they're question that they had or reflection that they had with regards to the topic. And even last week, if there's anything that came from last week. And if you did attend last week, let us know if you were in the conversation or not.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you as well if you're a returning viewer.
Okay. This is great. And Donna, do you want to say anything in reflection to last week, or are you ready to just get in there and
just get in there, because we had so much to talk about sex and sexuality and everything else, and that kind of went,
We ran out of time.
So if we could just wrap up this with that, I'm good.
Yes. Well, I was saying just before you joined us that I was able to go back and reflect after the show and really embrace some areas where I needed to heal. What was making me feel I'm not enough, or what was making me waver when I'm in a relationship, that suddenly just one little trigger can make me think that I'm not good enough, and it might not be the person. Sometimes you do have the narcissist that will play that good, you know what I'm saying? But I had to find out what it was, and the two triggers I found out was one, my mother. I'm always trying to people please her. Please, can't please them, right? And it goes into relationships, even work relationships. And then two, in terms of personal relationships, this one is so deep, I don't think I'll ever figure it out. I shouldn't say that way, but maybe y'all could figure it out. But when I was a very young teen mom, I was a 15-year-old mother, and I had met someone, and my mom had liked the person. Then they had now introduced me to their mother, and the mom said she has a kid. Oh, hell no. And that just stuck with me, and that's when I realized this is where I'm not enough comes from. And I was able to now identify that pain and even say it publicly to the world right now, you know what I mean? That this is, I don't even talk my business that, if you're my workshop, yes, I'll talk about teen sexuality. However, I just don't walk around with a t-shirt saying I was a teen mom. Of that extent. But I'm very proud of my children. They've all graduated from college, so forth. But at the same time, today we really need to look at, so I just identified a trigger, that it was me that had a baggage of thinking that I'm not enough. And it's an area that I literally have to heal. It's not just because I identified it, but I know that I would have to heal to know that I'm enough, so that when I'm glowing and attracting all the bumblebees, you know what I mean, and the birds, that they can't just make me waver and second guess myself. You know, so what do you guys have to say to that for healing?
Well, I'm glad that you found what your trigger is. So at least know that you find what your trigger is, you can start working on it. Right?
Yeah.
One of my mantras that I keep repeating to myself is that I'm not my past.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And it cuts deep because we're not our past. Past is the past. You know what I mean? And when we find what area that is lacking growth or empathy or love, and we realize it, then it's just time to work on it. And the fact that you went back there, that we did that program, it came up when you went back there,
Yeah.
and said, you know what? I need to heal this. So now when someone says something to you, it's like, okay, and heal. It's like, you know, your inner child or your past is not making you feel stuck or unworthy, or that you're not good enough. And the thing about narcissists, I've heard you mention narcissistic people, or people with narcissistic traits. They don't come for a person that's healed. They're going to come for that person who's not sure of themselves and need validation from somebody else.
Oh God, the validation.
Right? So the minute that
get over that, maybe we could look at that.
Yeah, no, but it's true though. But when you realize that a narcissist would never date me. My ex was a narcissist, but they would never date me because I don't need you to complete me. I know who I am. So get out of here, type of thing. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good. Because if you're gonna come to me and just offer sexual favors or make me feel good one day and then stamp on my back the next day, you know, you have to choose your battle. You have to choose your battle. You know, so I'm glad that you found what triggers you.
Oh yeah,
and it would just get easier and easier, right?
I was kind of cheesed at one point where it was like, I'm on the hot seat, I'm the host. I'm like, I want to be on the hot seat. You know what I mean? I want to talk about this, you know?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. So Joy.
I felt much lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can heal, that it was like an opportunity to align. I honestly, sometimes you just don't know what it is that needs to be healed.
You know what?
You just don't know.
And you
Go
know,
ahead.
sometimes we do know, but we don't know how to face it. Joyce and aren't we are a past, present, and future? Joy, yes, we are a past, present, and future. But what we're trying to emphasize here is, if we're in the past, our past ancestors and our past journey creates this future journey. But if there's something that hinders you or make you feel uncomfortable, especially when you're in an uncomfortable place, our past mistake does not define who we are today. And that's what that meant. Because I'm not that person last week or last year. I'm not that 15-year-old mom that anybody can step over. I am not that person that was abused. I was not that person who was raped. I am better than that. So our past defined who we are now, because now we're bigger, better, and more enlightened. And so that's what that means.
Absolutely. Excellent. Brother Coach, you want to chat?
Yeah, for sure. No, Sophia Light just asked what the topic is, so maybe we can pin.
We're looking at healing. So I said it twice, y'all. You know, we're looking at healing. So last week we were gonna look into healing, identifying healing. Going back. So I just gave my example of that. I actually had to go back and see what it is, you know, that was making me feel not enough. Identifying healing, but then also identifying tools. Right? Because a lot of times people do not know what it is, you know, what does a broken person look like? What does healing look like? And we can go from then. I don't even think we will be able to touch. The goal for me, what got me excited is that I know you guys are about aligning, right? And attracting. So I know that anybody that's in my life too, I'm also attracting that as well, right? I learned that from last week. Right. So, and just from researching on you guys as well. Right. So I'm excited to align, but I know that the work that has to be done is the healing. So today we're going to just talk about some tools that have to be healed, because we can label everybody, but we got to talk about some tools, whether it be examples of, you know, what have you. But then we need to know what does broken look like, because a lot of people do not know that they're broken. you know, and I can be biased and say men don't know that they're broken because maybe they're told not to be broken, and then, you know, they got to have everything together. But we got to see what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what about so tell us, you know, the man. We got to look at the man in the mirror. Does that help you, Brother Kofi?
Yes, no, I just wanted, yeah, now it's pinned. So if anybody's just tuning in, thank you so much for joining us in this lively conversation, which is part 2 to the part 1 we had last week, Wednesday.
Yes.
Wednesday. And again, some of these things just happen organically.
Yes.
So
all about that.
As we continue to create space for that, and just acknowledging that some folks, this may be your first time tuning in. So the topic is below. Let's talk sex, love, and relationships. And each one of those topics, as everybody tuning in knows, can have a show unto itself. So we do our best to touch upon each topic. And last week we got into so much of the conversation that the sex came last. Isn't that ironic?
I know.
Isn't that interesting? The sex came last. But the reality of the situation is, like, where does it start, right? And we're talking about a little bit about our past, things that have happened, like things that have had impact on us, how we show up, our healing, all of those things. All those things tie into past experiences, right? So the past is going to come up, and we're going to have to, at some point, acknowledge it, and also acknowledge that the part of the healing, acknowledging that it's a process, it's a journey, it's not a destination either. So, you know, we keep all of that in mind as we're kind of broaching this subject that can be so expansive. So we'll try our best to condense it in this short, you know, in this time that we have together. So was there any question that we didn't?
There's Joy. He said, how do we heal if one cannot identify the triggers because they are disconnected from self? So you can probably start with that, Brother Kofi, and then I can jump on if necessary.
Yes, she summed that up. Very
question.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great question, Joy.
Thank you, Joy.
Can you repeat it, because I don't see it?
How do we heal if one cannot identify the triggers because they are disconnected from self? So she's saying, if you're disconnected from self, how can she identify what's triggering her?
So it's interesting because a couple of things come to mind. So I'm going to try it again to bring it, to condense it. One of the things we often talk about in relationships, actually maybe we don't talk enough about, is personal development and its impact, right? And how it intertwines in relationships. And a lot of the time we think that it's just about us, or it's just about the other person, right? The westernized romanticism of love and relationships, it's very individualistic, right? You're coming in for what you want. Even down to the Pepe Le Pew, animation, cartoon, things that we grew up with. That's what we thought was like, that's romance and that's love, and that's what people thought of. And so how can I get that, or all that kind of thing. But I think we forego the importance of the understanding that it's a journey that you're walking on with somebody, and you're going to develop. But guess what development looks like? Development looks like change, right? At some point, as you're developing, something's changing within you, something's changing in your life, your perspective, your outlook, even your understanding of what this thing love is. And the funny thing is, guess what? Triggers are going to come up in the relationship. If you're going into anything and you're looking to actually develop yourself, you're going to be challenged. And you're often going to be challenged because something affected you in such a way that it made you look at it differently. But you can look at it as a trigger, like you also look at it as an opportunity for growth, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying to pursue, that it's recommended, like you pursue a relationship with somebody and it's everything they do is triggering you.
Right.
And as a result, in that, you're putting yourself through how can I call it? You're putting yourself through like a negative experience consistently to learn a lesson. That's not what I'm talking about. But acknowledging that that person may trigger you, but it's an opportunity to be able to develop yourself, to look at the situation and circumstance and determine what is it that maybe you need to look at differently or what have you, right? So to backtrack, to give that some context, but to backtrack now to the question with regards to if you don't know your triggers. the funny thing is you're going to have opportunities to learn what those are in relationship, but those don't necessarily have to be intimate relationships either.
It could be
Right?
any. That's right.
You're going to learn, you learn those when you're in a relationship with your parents. I guarantee out of the 12, 14 people that are on right now, you know, a family member, someone close to you, but let's just say a family member, could say something to you that a stranger would say to you that's going to hit you and impact you completely differently just because it came from the family member, right? And it could be something simple. It could just be, right? It could just be, you know, what is that shirt you're wearing? Like, what kind of shoe that? Like, it could be something very simple, but because it came from a family member, because it's connected so emotionally, it can impact you, right? So I think sometimes we're going into circumstances, situations, knowing what our triggers are,
Right.
but we're not applying them or acknowledging their connection to relationships. So a lot of the time, those things that took place in your childhood and all of that stuff, those are the things that are going to trigger you in relationships, right? Like those same things are going to show up in your intimate partnerships and relationships. It doesn't disappear, right? So sometimes we actually know what they are, but we may not have been able to properly confront them yet, if that makes sense.
Right.
But the relationship brings them out. That's the relationship creates an opportunity to actually bring them out. Because we do know what some of them are. So I would almost say, you know, if you don't know, like if you're saying that right now, you know, maybe you don't know what some of your triggers are. I'm just thinking that, are you looking at relationships and entering a relationship from a deficit place, as opposed to, you know, from your assets, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm wondering, does that make sense? I'm wondering what would, go ahead.
I was thinking too, like, I mean, just patterns. You said the same. It doesn't necessarily have to be relationships, but somebody might say, Sharon, you always, or I might be seeing myself repetitively in this, or the moment that I do a certain thing or take money out of my wallet, then this is a trigger, or this, you know, something, right? I think we have to start to really protect ourselves and take note of ourselves, you know what I mean, to really identify the triggers. It's like it's our responsibility. Like, I can blame the whole world. I can blame this one and that one, right? But how am I get in that situation with this one and that one again, right? So we have to look at I would say, our patterns. It's like we're using the word trigger like someone, you know, a provocation, but it's really, no, what are the patterns? What are those emotions? Because again, for me, it was being in a crowd of people, and I'm honestly a Leo, so I mean, I need attention sometimes. I don't even realize this, but sometimes I guess I do, especially from my partner. And I was not enough, and I literally lost it.
You guys make some amazing points, and I love it. And I like the part where you said disconnected. She said she wants, how does someone feel when they're disconnected with self? And you also did, first of all, you have to find out what trigger is. And I believe what you just said too was acknowledgement.
Yes.
And before we can have that loving relationship, we have to definitely work on self. And if I read your message correctly, Joy, how do we heal if we cannot identify the triggers? You know what your triggers are if you're paying attention. If you truly, truly, truly pay attention, you'll know what your triggers are. But this is where you have to be at a place of no noise and a place of be. And when I said be, you have to be by yourself. It's about me. It's about me being that solace, that quiet place. It's acknowledging. And my girl, pen and paper works. Anything that comes up, jot it down. And if you consistently do this, like really pay attention to what ails you, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling unloved, the stories will tell themselves, and you will literally find out where it's coming from. And when you have that all down, baby girl, it's a part of now that you're like, it's as if you're uprooted all this old trauma or old stuff that's, that's eating you alive. And then what you're going to do is you start reprogramming with the love and the growth and the forgiveness, and I'm enough and I am love and I am powerful. But in order for that to start happening, you have to start acknowledging yourself that I am not at a good place. And if you're not at a good place, nothing that you do is going to see, you're going to always feel disconnected. So, you know, just like everybody says, first of all, you have to acknowledge. And I'm going to tell you, guarantee for myself and everybody, we cannot have a fulfilling relationship if we don't start working on ourselves and understanding who we are. Because if we don't understand who we are, we can't go into a relationship and our partner doesn't understand who we are. So, Joy, get a pen and paper and ask yourself some serious questions and start making notes.
Okay. And that discovery of who we are runs deep. Self-love. I'm remembering even another trigger of 3 members in my family. One, my mom was in the middle of a divorce. My sister was in the middle of a divorce. I was in the middle of a breakup. And trust me, that affected me deep. Back to that, we are not enough. Like, when it wasn't even, now I'm just remembering that. And when what we're trying to like look at, you know, cipher between each other, you guys might have all the answers, but we can discuss, everybody who's on the line, on the air now, we want to look at what does this healing look like? Because we got to go to find out self. We got to touch spirit. I don't know, Brother Kofi, if you could touch on that, because we got to get into that depth of the spirit. You guys are clearly both highly spiritual coaches. It wasn't honestly deliberate. I just felt the energy that you two needed to be on the thing. Do you guys know each other as well in person?
Yes,
as well?
we do.
Okay, so this is
when
what
you said Kofi was going to be on it, it's like yes, we do. We do.
Okay. This is something, so it's funny. Like, I wasn't even looking at, and I've been to one of Coach Kofi's that's how I knew about him, workshop on the online. I think it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, this is powerful. Like, and I mean, like, trust me, we got to find it. You gave a giveaway this week, Brother Kofi.
Yes.
And I missed it. I'm like, dang. I give 3 giveaways, as a matter of fact. But I don't want to segue. But like, we need to heal, and like these workshops that you two are both offering, or the consultation, it's not just only this conversation. It's really opening up this conversation. But I know that when I go back into my roots, not just only my personal life of history, but my mother's. We talked a little bit about this last week when I mentioned Dr. Lela Africa, when he had he was able to identify my health issues based on my pregnancy with me. So I told him my health issues, and he told me what happened to my mom's pregnancy. I was like, what? And he goes, you got your mother to blame for that particular organ. I was like, wow. And so sometimes we have to go further back in. I'm good in sales. I'm top in sales in Canada for the #1 brand. That goes to an archetype of a great aunt. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we do have to go back to see. Sometimes I feel there's like that spiritual pull as well. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we could speak to the spiritual aspect of healing, Brother Kofi, and cleansing, or Donna.
Kofi, mine's alike is asking a question, and then probably you can answer her question after. Do you want me to read it to you?
Sure.
It says, when we ask ourselves what happened in the relationship, are we taking responsibility or acknowledging our faults?
Sorry, say it one more time.
When we ask ourselves what
Mm-hmm.
happens in the relationship, are we taking responsibility or acknowledging our faults? I can jump on it. Mike, you know, is it mine's like? Both.
Mine's I like.
Mine's I like? It's both. We are definitely taking responsibility for our part and acknowledging. Because it's never one-sided. It's never one-sided. I got a message asking, when are we going to start talking about sex?
For real, but we're gonna get. This is the thing. Was what again? we got to get to the healing, because once you're healed and you're all strong, healthy, we want to get some more tools out there, because once we're healed, because again, there, there's like
you know what?
soul
You
time.
know what? You know what? I think we can address both and kind of
Yeah,
bring in the sexual aspect of it.
Mhm.
yeah,
Because now
let's
Joy
bring in
is
the second
asking
half.
about eroticism and stuff. So, but let's go to Minds I Like. That's my acknowledgement. So Minds I Like, we're taking responsibility and acknowledging our part in it. It's nobody's fault, because in every relationship, I believe that every relationships are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's different, it's like a new learning thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you don't know yourself, you're going to take a big part. Because even when I was married, I'm going to give you an example. I was never a talker. You know what I mean? So could I have talked about what I was going through? Probably. And it probably would have been dealt with. But at that point, it's like, I never understood, because if I may say the wrong thing and he may leave me, which would be a good thing, but I didn't acknowledge that. You know what I mean? So I am going to acknowledge my part in a lot when it comes to the verbiage of a relationship by not speaking what I need to say. You know what I'm saying? You understand me? So yes, so I am going to acknowledge that, you know what, I didn't speak enough, or tell this person that I'm hurting. So that's my responsibility, and that it's my fault to a certain degree, that I was not communicative in a relationship. And I do find that a lot of persons don't communicate well, because the first thing in their back of their mind is fear. But in the journey of healing, I have to acknowledge to myself, Donna, you know what? You should have spoken up, or it's okay. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when people don't speak up, it's because of fear of probably losing, or fear of the person looking down on you. You know what I mean? In any circumstances, a relationship or a job or anything, I
Mm-hmm.
feel less than. So, so it's both.
Okay. I'm looking at that question that was about the sex part.
I
It's
don't
funny.
know, Brother Kofi wants to answer mine's like, but yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
questions coming about sex.
So I'm gonna speak a little bit about preparation.
Okay.
I don't think we talk a lot about this as it
About
relates to
what? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
preparation.
Preparation.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think we talk about this a lot, just from my experience. And the thing about it is that in a lot of our traditional cultures, we went through processes of personal discovery, quote, AKA adult maturation, AKA rites of passage. We went through these very conscious ways of coming into adulthood. So as a result, some of the questions that were even posed tonight are based in some of those questions that would be asked during a rites of passage or adult maturation. And one of those questions would be, who am I? Right? So you would ask, you would know from you were very young, you'd be told certain things about yourself. The native tradition have totems, right? In our ancient traditions, African traditions, we have different deities, right? Different representations spiritually, right? Even in the Christian faith, you have particular what do you call saints and things of that nature that you identify with particular traits, understanding when you're born and all that kind of thing. So you would know some of these things growing up. So now, when it comes down to fast forwarding that to things like arranged marriages and things of that nature, right? Whether you agree with them or don't agree with them, the point is that they're based in something foundational. So they're based in the type of family the person comes from, right? Their astrology, these kind of things would all be kept in mind when someone is pursuing a mate or a partner. So all of this has to do with preparation. So now we come to North America and we say, okay, what are some of the rites of passage? What are some of the the stages and steps that we go through? And a lot of them are unconscious. A lot of them are by happenstance, right? For example. So we may not necessarily have someone guiding us, elders or people who are older, supporting us in a positive way to walk in a particular direction, but we do have people who are older than us that are setting examples that we're following. So I give an example, this whole thing, Papa was a Rolling Stone, like these old sayings, right? That would come up. It was like some of the men were following their uncles and their father and the people the males in their lives and how they were in relationships, because they were
Yes.
behaviors were modeled when they were young. So it was cool to have. So you came home and you said you had a girlfriend. Yo, look at you, man.
Yes.
You get big up, right? You get big up, right? Even the women sometimes will say, look at him, he's going to be a heartbreaker and
Lady killer.
right? All of these things. We're preparing our children for relationships. We're preparing them for the types of relationships that they're going to have, right? And so what are we modeling, right? All of those things are happening from we're young. So now if we shift that now and we start to consciously prepare for the type of relationship that we want to be in, it starts from what Sister Donna said, which is our self-exploration. So let me bring that to the sexual part now. You know, you're going to have experiences with your own sexuality, right? From young, right? You're going to be exposed to things that make you think about aspects of your own body, right? And how you look at your body, what's beautiful, what's not beautiful, you know, all of those things, right? Before somebody else does, usually. So your first experience with, you know, with a orgasm and things of that nature are most likely going to happen by yourself, right? They're most likely going to happen unless it's like, it's taboo, like, or, you know, you're in part of a religion or a faith-based system that says it's wrong or something. And even for some of us who did grow up in that, we still ended up exploring, right? You're having that experience first with yourself and getting to be uncomfortable or comfortable with yourself. So fast forward that experience with somebody else now, and now you're having your first sexual experience with somebody. A lot of that is going to be reflected on the experience you have with yourself, right? So if you have these hang-ups, if you have these insecurities, most likely some of that may show up in that sexual encounter with that other person, right? And the level of comfort that you have with that person is going to be based upon your comfort with yourself. So the preparation says we take our time to start to know ourselves, to start to know our needs, to start to know our wants, to know what we're comfortable with, what we're not comfortable with. Those conversations should be happening before we get into the bedroom with the person, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they don't, but we're now adults, right? I'm not talking now anymore about us being children. Now that we're adults, we should know those things now. We should be able to have those conversations before we end up in the bedroom with somebody. Personal hygiene, you know what I mean? Like, these are conversations that should be happening before we end up in the bedroom, right? With that person, so that we have an understanding of our own expectations of that intimate space that we're going to share with that person, right? So all of that goes back to knowledge of self and who I am and what's important to you. I'm going to pass it to Donna because I've been talking for a little bit.
You know, everything that you said sounds so amazing and nice, and you know, so but we're going to hit reality. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way for a whole heap of us. You know what I mean? You know, and especially a lot of us that's coming from the diaspora, the African Caribbean community. Because I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of us, sex and sexuality was not a thing. Until the age of 15, I thought a person having babies were first coming from birds delivering the baby.
Delivering it.
You know what I mean? Sex is procreation, and that's it. Nothing else. It's not about joy. It's not about loving your body. It's not about being comfortable. It was never discussed, right? And I'm in my 50s, and it's later on, I'm understanding what true sexuality is. Yes, we have to be at a place to enjoy our body and be patient and loving. But to be honest, it's not happening. If it was happening the way it was designed, 80-something, call it close to 90% of women would be enjoying sex and having orgasm. Like last week we talked about the orgasm that makes you smile or laugh because it's such a euphoria. It's not happening enough. 100%. Just because, number one, we are ashamed of this body. Before, you know, you're a young girl, you know, your body nice and sexy, then you have kids, the breasts get bigger, the hip get, you know, you have, and then people, even when you're skinny, people are uncomfortable.
That's true.
And right? And then you have children, you're still getting uncomfortable because the law is that you're supposed to look a certain European way. We're Black people. We don't look like European. You know what I mean? So if people could just get it in their head that I am beautiful no matter what. And sex and sexuality, it's a loving, it's a loving feeling, and we're entitled to this. Our body is supposed to feel this way. I've heard women feel like, oh, I feel like I'm going to have an orgasm, or I feel like I'm going to pee, and hold it back. Why? Because we're told, even back in the days, Brother Kofi, you know this, when people were having orgasm, they were saying it's wrong for women to have orgasms. So these are just traits coming from a long line that women are not supposed to be having an orgasm. When people were starting to squirt, oh my God, we're taking you to the hospital because something is wrong with you. When people are having, when they're having an orgasm and they're having discretion, that they're actually having these things, people are talking about this. So these are just programs that's in people's mind from a long time. So it needs people like us to bring in this discussion around.
And it's funny when you talk about loving yourself and your body, getting to know your body, because I know that I used to be ashamed of my breast. So I would never let anyone see or touch. And the moment that they did get touched, let me tell you.
And how are you going to enjoy yourself in the bed if you bring in shame? You can't bring shame in the bedroom.
Yeah, the moment that you're rid of that, you're going to experience another level of
okay, Joy Pierce is saying, what is it that makes some men and women much better lovers than some? I have a beautiful lover, just like what Brother Kofi said. If you're consciously dating someone and you have a true energetic relationship or a true connection, then of course that person is going to fling you off or to make you walk on the moon. But then if you're just going to have sex because you want to, then it's going to be different. It's going to be totally different. So again, it's mindset, it's connection, it's where you are. It's where you are in your relationship, because it's not all men or women that you meet, you're supposed to be sleeping with them anyways. But because it's the opposite sex, you feel a little bit of niceness, and say, okay, I'm going to give him some, or I'm going to give her some. But more than likely, they're not even supposed to be having sex with them. Yes, mine is like oxytocin. Oxytocin is a great thing if you're connected. I'm going to tell you something. A lot of women are having intercourse with men because it's more intimacy they want, and not necessarily the penetration part. And a lot of them are doing it over and over again because they're saying, I'm finally going to have an orgasm. And in true reality, they're not having an orgasm. But they say, okay, this time I'm going to have an orgasm. This time I'm going to have an orgasm. You talk to women all the time. I have clitoral orgasm all the time. Clitoral orgasm is a big up and down, boom, and it's done. We're not talking about penetrative orgasm. We're not talking, body orgasm. We're not, you know what I mean? Lots of women are having clit orgasms. Boom,
I can have a breast orgasm.
I know you told me all part of your body is very erogenous. That's great. You know what I want Brother Kofi to talk about? Semen retention.
Ooh, that's a good one. It's a good one. We have a question coming from Art Avenue. It says, do you believe, and we have about another 9 minutes, so we could probably go around with this question. Do you believe that sex is the glue that holds romantic relationships together?
No.
I'm going to start, I'm on a no part, but it can hold a relationship, but it won't save it, but it's not.
No, I don't believe that. But Brother Kofi can jump on that too. But I don't believe sex is the glue to hold a relationship.
I bear witness.
It depends on the kind of relationship that you want, right?
Yes,
kind of relationship you want. Do you want to a couple of days a week booty call? Is that what a relationship? Could you define?
I guess define what a relationship. Yes, I guess that makes sense.
Type of relationship that you
that makes sense.
A couple times a week. There's a comedian that says, some women just want to get a man to come over and
boom and then go home.
Bedroom, cut the lawn every couple times a month.
It's true.
And remove some snow. Right?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
That's what they want, right? But if you really were to ask those people, what is it that they truly need? you know, as opposed to what they want,
Mm-hmm.
you may get a different response, right? And the sex is a connection, right? It's a physical connection, which also a spiritual connection, but the depth of your connection with that person is going to determine the depth of what that sexual encounter
Mm-hmm.
entails and looks like, right? And even the
Mm-hmm.
comfort of that, right? And I was going to say, even safety. I was just thinking of safety, right? I was thinking of you letting somebody into your personal space, like your
That's
house,
what
car.
thank you.
What would you like? Would you let a stranger into your car? Like your car is not your bedroom. Would you let a stranger, just random stranger,
Dear God,
open the door, come on in, right? You wouldn't, right? That's your car. That's your vehicle. You drive it somewhere, you park it up, you go inside your home. Much less an intimate space, which is like your bedroom space. And then letting that person into your personal space, which is a connection to your body, to your energy, right?
yes.
Without having any idea and understanding of who this person is and what this person is coming with. And I think
Exactly.
the key is we put ourselves in negative situations because we bring those
Risky
people
behavior.
into our space. We bring those
Mm-hmm.
people into our safe spaces without questioning, is this person safe? Is this situation safe? And I don't mean that just from, you know, what we talk about safe spaces, like how they're becoming now sometimes, but like really and truly, right? I used to say this thing, right? And a lot of, you know, it's like, what do you call it? It's like you get from movies, you know, these sayings that people say in movies, and they say, you know, could I trust you with my heart? Right? Much as I know myself, I know what's important to me. I know this is the thing that makes you tick, right? This is like your center, right? So could I trust this person? And I'm talking relationship now. I'm not talking the
We're talking
couple of
relationships.
days. I'm talking relationship, what you need, intimate connection, pursuing something with this person. You know, perhaps again, long term, you're looking at building with this person. We're talking about things like self-development, all of that stuff. You know, from the safety perspective, can you trust this person, and would you trust this person with your heart, right? And I think you get to a point where that question could be asked. I'm not saying this is the first couple of dates and that kind of thing, right? But I think even that could be questioned, even that could be discussed. This piece around dating, what people want and what people need. Because some people, they're not coming honestly to the table. They're on Plenty of Fish, they're on Match, whatever they call it. They're on eHarm, whatever they call it. They're on all of these different.
You know them, man. With Brother Coffee, you know them, man.
They're on all these platforms, and there's some new ones, right? They're on all these platforms, and they're not being honest with themselves about what it is that they want, right? So, and maybe there's one or two of them that are actually like that, where it's a hookup thing, right? And you go there,
Yeah,
and that's what you do.
that's what
But
they say.
aside
Straight up,
from that,
hook it up.
some people are going on there and they're desperately seeking a connection and a partner, a confidant, a companion, right? But the other people on the other end are just looking for something else. And they play this back and forth game until they get into a space that's an intimate space. And both people are still looking at, what can I get? Can I get this from this person? So can I get companionship from this person? Okay, so if I be intimate with them, maybe I can get companionship. And if I say that I want companionship because I've determined that's what this person wants, then I can get my sex. So you're already going into it with these intentions that are not honest.
That's
And then
really
you
good.
sleep with the person.
But it's true.
You
It's
create
deep.
a false relationship with the person, and then you're both like, I didn't want this, but your actions said something
Something
completely
totally
different.
different. Yeah, I agree.
But all of that started with safe space. All of that started with comfort level. All that started with what's important to me. What am I pursuing in my life right now, and why? Right? Which all comes back down to, who am I? You know, what is it that's important to me is really based in your own purpose of why you're here. What is it that you want? Because at the end of the day, like, that's going to come up anyway, right? It's going to come up anyway. But going to the oxytocin and what we discussed earlier, there are all these hormones that are being released in the midst of being with this person that are really to create bonds, right? Those
Mm-hmm.
hormones are ejected to create a bond with that person so that you can actually, Mother Nature set it up so that you can actually
She did.
mate with that person so that you can procreate with that person, going on what you said earlier, Sister Donna, because that's what was needed and necessary to continue the race, like to continue civilization. That's needed. But
something happened.
Shifted, and
something
we're
happened.
playing,
something shift.
something else is happening, and we're playing around. And I'm not saying again that that's even quote unquote wrong, right? That people have encounters are wrong, but we're just talking about the difference between pursuing a relationship that you actually want to go somewhere and create something with somebody. And I know a lot of people these days, like people have children, right? People are parents, right? A lot of people, you have like, you're not bringing somebody just into your life, right? You're bringing them into your life and the lives of your family or your children or your whatever. And they're not even looking at, is this compatible? Because of the hormone, all of these things that took place and the passion in the moment. But if you were to bring that person to the family dinner or to the, to meet your son, your daughter, or whatever, if you have to explain stuff about this person before you introduce them, there might be something there that needed to be looked at prior to, right? But you just want to throw these people into your life without determining what is it that was truly important to you because you got caught up in the emotion of the moment, right?
Yes, yes. I see a comment even when you talk about the emotions. It was something I was even curious about myself. With the healing, right? Some three then rows. I think that's Maat. Damarie Maat on all the things healing themselves before they go share their confused vibrations with people who are doing the same thing. Now, when we get into the sexual engagements, right, as you said, that chemistry, and we did look at, we need to look at the healing, but of course, but how do you even, like, self-control is a big thing. It's a big issue that causes that confusion. I also wanted to look at, spiritual ties, like breaking spiritual ties from previous relationships as well, because these are real things in terms of the vibrations of healing, because I could tell when I'm being yanked by somebody who I want just like, let me go. You know what I mean? I can feel that energy pull, right? And I don't, those things, we need to cleanse, you know what I mean? Like whether it be, as yoga, whether it's being, going to your workshop. I know, Sister Donna, you had mentioned about your mantras, right? I've heard some people people who've used mantras all their life renege on mantras, when in fact you got to get that seed in you. And
you know what it is? You're right. Mantras is something they actually be. People are saying mantras from their mouth, but they're not saying it with their heart and their gut. And there's a difference, right? I know you mentioned about, let's say if a man ejaculates in a woman, we're talking about coming together with somebody that you're not supposed to be with. A man's semen can live in your whole system for a good 6 months.
I heard longer.
You know what I mean? So here you are walking around with somebody else's DNA in your body. Yeah. So when Brother Kofi talks about, you have to be conscious of who you're dating. It's a big thing. And sometimes, and that's why a lot of women take so long to disconnect from this person. She knows the person's not right for her. But here you are walking around with somebody else's DNA with you, and you're wondering, I don't want this guy, but why do I feel like I need to be with him? These are things that we have to be conscious about when we're hanging out or decide that we're going to have intercourse with anybody that we're not supposed to be with. It's a true thing. Let's say, all right, then he uses a condom, but we're still exchanging energy. We're still swapping spit, right?
It's everything.
It's everything. It's the whole makeup, but the whole energy is the whole makeup. And so in choosing your right partner or in choosing to have this loving relationship with self, in everything that we do, we have to be conscious. Yes, the kitty cat can say me meow, meow all the time, but who is in charge of kitty? You are.
So
You are in charge of Kitty. You can walk up and then you go and say, oh my God, girl, I don't. You know, have a
we
conversation
need
with
some we
her.
need some lessons on how to be in charge with Kitty.
You have to be
You know,
in charge of your
for
brain.
me,
You have to
I'm,
be in charge. And say, not tonight,
I'm
my
to
girl,
take
not
it
tonight.
personal, but it's like when you connect with that person, it's like you need to put often know if you put them emotions and things on pause.
You
Like
have
it's
to be
like
sweet. You have to be
there's
strong.
no
Women are
way.
strong. Women are stronger than they know. They are so strong.
Yeah.
They are very strong, but you have to believe that you are strong and you have to believe what you want you will get versus a temporary band-aid. And when you recognize that and you start the healing journey, like you talked about last week when we spoke, you have to realize that, you have some stuff that you need to work on because you have triggers that you need to work on. We all have triggers that we need to work on. And every day that I would say, okay, I'm healed today. Trust me, until the day of transition, we're going to always constantly be healing. We're always going to constantly work on ourselves.
This is it. Always. I think it's an always.
Always. It's an
Because I'm
always
even
thing.
thinking of those that are in relationships, healing and forgiveness, etc. They actually have to as well identify this is not only just for people who are seeking to align, because even you could be in a relationship and be not aligned as well.
Of course.
Out of
Of
alignment.
course.
Everybody grows, we can grow different direction. I know
Absolutely.
I know for myself what I even took away from last week, as I mentioned earlier, those that are listening, is that um, I'm eager to heal because I want to I know what my partner is like. I might not have met him, right? But I know what they are like. But I also I think I'm looking for someone's good energy to push up my energy when in fact I need to be able to develop self, align self. I've had a lot of time with self-discovery. I'm an artist and whatnot, but me being wavering, as you know what I mean? I got to be solid in knowing myself and being able to know that I could align with that person that is alike. I know that I am attracting what isn't within. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I can see that this particular, I know that for sure. You know what I mean? It's almost like the man in the mirror right now. It's like, damn, we definitely, we do have a question here from Joy Parrott. She says, is there going to be a part 3? Oh gosh, it's so much. But I really, tonight I really wanted you guys to really share. Kofi, Brother Kofi, you have a book, you have workshops. Same thing with you, Donna Savage. You have book and workshop to develop self. This is key, right? So I want us to be able to, I wanted you guys to drop some quotes, but I was a little bit late in sending you guys the information. I apologize. We're winging it, but we're having a good conversation here. We definitely can look into, we did look into to some extent today, what does healing look like? But I would like to get into that depth of what does healing look like, what did you do, Donna? You know what I mean, in your healing process? What were some of your steps to heal, to be that confident, vibrant woman that you are today? You know what I mean? It's, we want to know that, or maybe an example of, what, not to say your own clients, but, success stories, right? One of my big success stories, in all honesty, shout out to Tanya P, right? The Concrete Rose, where she just constantly inspires me through her life. We have a lot of good conversations. And one of the key things that I learned from her conversations, and just to see the transformation in her life from out of the concrete to a rose, was that she did work on self. And she let go like that. Like every time it just comes back to that she worked on self and she was good. She was in a good space, a good place. Next week I want to talk, or if you guys are available, but the next time we all three come together, we'll see, right? Is looking at, once you're shining and once you've healed, you know what I'm saying? The self-control, respect, you know what I mean? Protect. I love me. I ain't letting him in that fast. He said, you know, take control of the kitty. I mean, you know, don't give up the goodie too quick.
Don't give up
You
the
know,
goods, man.
but you know, the chemistry, man, you know, we got to get beyond that beast mentality and into our higher self. You know, it's critical, and I know you guys have the tools. You guys, they have the books. Brother Kofi, shout out your book before you go. Sister, tell our listeners, our viewers about your book, and Sister Donna, the same, okay? Brother
Go ahead,
Kofi?
Brother Kofi.
Absolutely. No, thank you once again, you know, Sister Sharon, Lady Sharon, for creating this space for us to have this dialogue. As people know, like the importance of these conversations is so critical. And thank you, Sister Donna, for always for us sharing this space. You know, we have big work to do.
We have lots of work to do.
Um, so this whole piece around our journey and what we've learned and what we've experienced and what we did to go through our own healing, etc., I think is so critical and important, and it's almost a show unto itself.
Yes.
The impetus for my book, a lot of it had to do with my own self-love journey and understanding of self, and I speak a lot about that in my book. It's called Change Your Life from the Inside Out, Holistic Habit Success Guide, Volume 1. So it is a series of books I'm writing relative to the topic. And a lot of it has to do with your own self-exploration and understanding where you're coming from. And I think going back to your question about healing, I have to say a lot of it has to do with time with self, right? A lot of it has to do with time with self. And I was going to mention earlier that oftentimes what happens, it sounds, let me not put it in a category. Let me just say that sometimes we use relationships to distract ourselves from the work we're supposed to do on ourselves.
Amen.
Right? And you know, see a lot of experiences that happen in our lives. And again, this is not tis slap on your wrist, you're wrong situation. It's being able to look back and see where that may has happened, maybe that where that maybe has happened in your life in past relationships. And being able to determine what does that look like and what's important to you moving forward once again, right? So when you've done the healing work and you've taken the time to take time with self and reflect back on past experiences and relationships and what was said earlier, what did I offer to that relationship? What were the areas that I could have, you know, approached things differently or what have you? And perhaps that's a book unto itself that we need to co-write. But within that being said, it's like we need to be able to look objectively back at our relationships. When we're in them, I think we look at things so subjectively, it's hard to look at like what we're doing and not doing. And it again, triggers us. And, you know, I've been in partnerships where if you were to point out something that someone did or said that slighted you or made you feel a way or whatever, and it was connected to something deeper for them, they pushed back at it, and it became a big thing that led so far away from the thing that I shared, for example, and it became about and it became about me. Like they, you know, it's like, you understand what I'm saying? It's like right? Like you have to be able to be vulnerable enough, and this is the whole trust piece and the safe space piece and all of that, to be able to say, I'm willing to go somewhere with this person that they could point something out to me, and even if I don't like it, I can take some time to reflect on it because I know that it wasn't said out of malice, right? Knowing if it wasn't said out of malice, it wasn't said to hurt me. What is it about me that they're pointing out that I can look at? And it's not always about changing because the person said so, but it's a self-reflection once again, right? So
some people are masochists, though. They do, especially in relationships where they do, as soon as something's wrong, they blame self. They're not necessarily searching self, but they are blaming self. So I think somebody was touching on that earlier. So you do have to be mindful of not, and I think Donna, you addressed it a bit on it, was like, it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. Right. So you have to be mindful with, you know, that fine line of knowing between self-reflection versus blaming self. It's very dangerous, you know, and I guess you would get those tools from the book.
100%. And 100%. And taking the time, though, again, in this
Yes.
time with self to reflect on these things, right? And
Yeah.
to be able to look objectively at these things so that when you are in a place that you're comfortable pursuing a relationship once again, right? You've done some of the internal work. Some people, like, let's be honest, like, we can look back and say, you know what? I had to unpack some things with a counselor or with somebody, a spiritual guide or somebody, right? Before I pursued that last relationship. I should have taken the time to do that, right? Now, if that's the case, now you have the opportunity. If you're single, you're in between relationships, now you have the opportunity to do that. And then when you open that door, you start to see, oh, okay, I still had some unhealed stuff. Or I still had some things my belief system was kind of off. This is, again, benefit of coaches and things of that nature. Like, there's things that I could have done differently. And it's not about perfection, but it's about just acknowledging that there are things within me, right, that I need to look at in order to pursue something serious with somebody else. So I'm going to give myself whatever time I need, right, to be able to get to that place. So absolutely, you know, it's one of the things that we explore in coaching, to be able to determine what are some of those belief systems, that mindset that has us, you know, identifying with things that are not for our greater good. And sometimes it's we needed to address from our past. And again, this could be back to your parenting, your experiences in your home and in your family, and belief systems that you've taken on about yourself, you know, whether it's scarcity mentality, like there's so many different things, right, that you could have picked up along the way. And it's just acknowledging that there could be one or two things that are really subsequent to the point where they need to be addressed before you pursue something serious with somebody else. These other things can be addressed, and eventually, you know, we can look at but there could be one or two things that people can really self-reflect, right? That comes up, as you said, as a pattern, right, Lady Sharon, that need to be addressed. And if you need to go to someone, a professional, to address those things, there's no shame in that, because it's just about developing yourself and creating a better life for yourself, so that when you meet that person, you feel more ready, and that increases your level of self-confidence, and you're looking at things not from a desperation standpoint, but from a more comfort and understanding of self.
Wow, wow. Thank you for that, Brother Kofi. Thank you for that. Solid.
Okay, yeah, I won't be as long-winded, but I'm just because it's late.
No, but it's good. He nailed it.
No, I loved every minute of it. I'm not trying to be rude. No, I loved every minute of it. I know we have, you know, time constraints, so then I loved it. Like, I could sit and listen to him all night, but you know what it is. So my book is called Heads Up, Chest Out, and Own Your Shit. It's a book about how to boost your sexuality while connecting with self. And it just goes back to where people are talking about sexuality and how some enjoy it and some don't. So it's not a big book, but it's like an introduction to it. And, you know, at the end of the day, to be honest, before all this healing can take place, the number one thing that we have to do is give ourselves permission to heal.
Yes.
We have to give ourselves permission.
And that healing is not, you know, a bed of roses that the pain goes away, the pain shows up.
We have to give ourselves permission, because a lot of shit is gonna come up.
For real.
So and I'm done.
That's powered, Sister Donna. That is powered. I really appreciate you guys. I don't know when we're coming back for part 3. Oh boy, questions are still coming in. It's okay to feel yes, it is okay to feel your feelings, mine. So like, it is absolutely okay to feel your feelings. And I think a lot of us have been, like, for myself, was afraid to feel those feelings, you know, and yeah.
Especially to my brothers, you know, I'll say that that's often something not discussed. Again, that's another show unto itself, but just acknowledging the fact that, you know, let's say it didn't work out, relationship didn't work out, especially when it includes children. For men, a lot of times, we don't take the time to do the internal work and to do the self-reflection, so that those wounds are not addressed at all, right? When, you know, sometimes women, you all get together after a breakup or something, you almost call each other out. Like, you're like, we got to get together, right? Something's not right with my girl. We got to get together. With men,
You
it's rare that that conversation is going to happen. It's rare that we're going to sit down and discuss what happened, what's the, like, what went wrong, like what could have been done different. Like we don't. Those aren't conversations are not happening. So now these men are walking around broken inside,
Yeah,
right?
with a lot of baggage on their backs.
That has never been addressed, and the relationship
Mhm.
probably brought up a lot of stuff that's never been addressed, even from their childhood, that they didn't have the language to be able to even open the door to discuss, right? There's a lot of sexual abuse in our community with men
The men,
don't
yeah.
talk about, right? That impacts them in relationships. So that's something we don't even touch often, especially in our community. But that being
That's not
said,
even,
one,
Brother Kofi, that's not even touched. We don't talk about it, period.
about
About
it.
the men. And
Yeah.
and it needs to be addressed. I
There's
guess that's
actually
why
a
we have
really,
Brother Kofi anyways.
yes, and there's actually a
we're
really
gonna
good
talk
book.
about, we're gonna continue the conversation. Thank you so
Yes,
much, everybody, for tuning in. Cute Clock,
Mhm.
Joe Port, the folks that have been with us from the beginning. Mindset
yes.
Like, Surf Your Life.
Arts Avenue, Joy Pert, Eleanor, big up yourself, you know. Yes, there's a lot of tools that we can use to begin the healing, aligning, you know, learn about more about self, and those tools you can find with Coach Kofi, Donna Savage. Well, thank you again, and we are going to continue a part 3. I'm going to look back at this. We're going to be reposting this on YouTube and as well on the Instagram. Send in your questions, topics. I mean, we can't talk it all, but we have started this conversation, and it is critical. It is critical that we start to heal. You know, and get. As I said earlier, I'm excited about healing, so that I can align and attract. I know I got that whole attraction thing, that it's like I'm going to attract that partner once I get my shit up. Oh, my shit, right, Donna? Right? That's what's up. I will be able to track that. You know.
All
All
right.
right, Sharon signing out with Roots Reggae Hub on Wellness Wednesday with Coach Kofi and Donna Savage. One love.
Blessed night, everybody.
One love.